The stars twinkled above Earth as a new day began, but something was different. Something felt off, as if the sky itself had turned a deeper shade of black unseen by the people of the world. Yet the first warning came quietly. A single scout ship appeared in Earth's orbit, its dark silhouette cutting through the stars like a phantom before it blinked out of sight. It was the first sign humanity would receive of the coming invasion. Across the globe, military satellites detected the anomaly. The signal seemed harmless at first, nothing out of the ordinary. But then they began to grow more frequent and larger, the presence of something vast and unyielding just beyond the planet's edge. The world's top leaders scrambled to assess the situation, but it was already too late. In the shadow of Earth's surface, hidden from the eyes of the public, the largest weapon ever constructed by human hands slowly began to stir. The Aegis Reborn, a warship unlike any other ever conceived. Its scale and power were so far beyond anything known that it had remained a secret until now. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, the ground trembled as the ship's massive engines hummed to life. The silence of the ocean was broken by the roar of ancient machinery that had waited for this moment. At the same time, the first of the alien fleet arrived. It wasn't just one ship, it was an entire armada stretching across the sky. The ships were sleek and formidable, their designs reflecting an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Their shields gleamed as they advanced with perfect precision, their weapons ready to destroy any resistance in their path. The command ship at the center of the fleet emitted a faint hum as its leader stood ready for the conquest ahead. They had come to Earth with no hesitation, believing the planet was ripe for domination. The aliens had studied humanity for centuries from the far reaches of their star systems. They knew humanity's history, the conflicts, the struggles, the resilience that always seemed to rise up no matter the odds. But this time, there would be no rebellion. There would be no chance for survival this time. The alien fleet would overwhelm Earth and claim it for themselves. But what they didn't know, what they couldn't have known, was that in the depths of the ocean, something had been waiting, something designed to protect Earth from the very kind of threat now moving across the sky. As the alien ships closed in their weapons charge, and their commanders prepared to launch the attack, the humans on the surface felt it too. The air thickened as a pressure built up in the atmosphere around the globe. There was something coming, something new and terrifying. The very fabric of Earth seemed to tremble in response to the foreign threat. But what no one had expected, what no one could have predicted, was the sudden roar from the ocean as the Aegis Reborn ascended, breaking the surface of the water with a mighty crash. The sheer size of the ship left a trail of steam as it rose into the sky. Its guns shimmering with power, the Earth seemed to hold its breath as the monstrous warship became visible to the watching world. The alien fleet paused just for a moment as their sensors scanned the human ship, their commanders confused at first, trying to comprehend the new arrival. The Aegis Reborn was not just a ship, it was a message. It was humanity's declaration that they were not helpless, they would not bow to invaders. The sky darkened further as the two forces faced each other, a quiet tension hanging between them, both sides waiting for the first move, knowing that this moment would decide the fate of Earth. But in that silence, the humans prepared for what they knew could be their final stand. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, the Aegis Reborn stirred to life. Its engines hummed with a low vibration that reverberated through the water, like the heartbeat of a giant waiting for the moment to strike. Its immense structure was a marvel of human ingenuity, its surface gleaming with black metallic armor forged from materials unknown to the rest of the world. The ship had been hidden for decades in the deepest trenches of the ocean, an answer to an unknown threat that had only now revealed itself. Inside the control room, the crew was on high alert. The hum of the engines echoed through the narrow corridors as officers and soldiers moved with practiced precision. The captain of the Aegis Reborn stood at the helm, his hands steady on the controls as he surveyed the unfolding situation on the large holographic map. Before him, Earth's military had detected the alien fleet moments earlier, but they had underestimated the sheer magnitude of the threat facing them. They had no idea what they were up against. The captain knew it would be up to him and his crew to stand between the invaders and the future of the human race. The crew had spent years preparing for this moment, Everything had been calculated, every system tested, every weapon refined to perfection. No expense had been spared in the construction of the Aegis Reborn. The ship was designed not only to defend Earth, but to deliver a blow so devastating that no invader would dare challenge humanity again. The crew moved quickly now, following their captain's orders. As they readied the ship for combat, all eyes were fixed on the horizon, where the alien fleet hovered in the atmosphere above Earth's surface. The vast fleet appeared as an unbroken wall of ships. Its sheer size was enough to make anyone question the odds, yet in that same moment, the captain knew something the aliens did not. The Aegis Reborn was more than just a ship, it was humanity's symbol of defiance and resilience. Outside the massive warships, guns powered up one by one. Massive cannons emerged from hidden compartments on the ship's hull, each weapon designed to fire with such force that it would shatter the very structure of any ship foolish enough to challenge it. The captain's voice rang out calmly across the comms, "Prepare to fire." The enemy fleet still had not moved. Their ships hovered like vultures, waiting for the signal to strike, their weapons charged, ready to rain destruction down upon Earth. Yet still they did not anticipate the sudden appearance of the human battleship. Their sensors had not detected it until it had already breached the surface of the ocean. By then it was too late. With a single word, the captain ordered the opening salvo fire. The Aegis Reborn unleashed a barrage of energy blasts that lit up the sky like 1,000 stars exploding in unison. The weapons tore through the alien shields with shocking ease. A smaller alien ship caught in the first volley was obliterated instantly, its hull splitting in half as the blast tore through its core. The alien fleet paused for the briefest moment, the impact of the human attack sending shockwaves through their ranks. They had never encountered anything like this before. The commander of the alien fleet watched in disbelief as his ships scrambled to respond, their advanced technologies and defenses suddenly seeming inadequate against the raw power of the Aegis Reborn. He had assumed the invasion would be easy, a mere formality, yet here he was faced with a foe unlike any he had imagined. The battle had begun, but it was clear now that humanity had more than just a chance. They had something the invaders could not understand, a spirit that refused to be broken. The air above Earth crackled with the energy of the battle now unfolding as the first wave of alien ships regrouped in an attempt to regain control. They had underestimated the humans and their hidden weapon, but now the reality set in. The Aegis Reborn was not simply a powerful ship, it was a harbinger of destruction, and humanity had unleashed it with deadly precision. The captain stood unmoving, his eyes fixed on the battlefield ahead. The ship's hull thrummed beneath his feet as the first volley had made contact with the alien fleet, and now the battlefield felt like a symphony of destruction. Every shot from the Aegis Reborn sent ripples of shock through the enemy ranks. The commander of the alien fleet barked orders to his subordinates, desperate to reorganize, but nothing seemed to work. The alien ships were designed for warfare on an unimaginable scale. Their shields were state-of-the-art, their weapons capable of turning entire cities to dust, yet against the relentless barrage of the Aegis Reborn, they faltered. The human ships' energy pulses cut through their defenses with brutal efficiency. A smaller alien vessel, the first to fall, was struck head-on by a direct hit from the Aegis Reborn's main cannon. The blast shattered its shields and penetrated its hull with an ease that seemed impossible. The ship exploded in a brilliant fireball, scattering debris across the vastness of space. The other ships hesitated as the sight of their comrades' destruction rippled through their fleet. For a moment, the humans on the Aegis Reborn allowed themselves a brief pause of satisfaction, but the captain was quick to refocus them. Their task was not complete, their victory not yet assured. The alien forces attempted to regroup again. This time they sent out their fighter ships, dozens of them swarming the Aegis Reborn like a horde of angry wasps. The human ships' weapons fired continuously, now each shot finding its target with surgical precision. The fighters tried to get close, but the Aegis Reborn's advanced tracking systems made them little more than moving targets. The alien fighters fired back with everything they had, their lasers flashing in the dark expanse of space, each shot seeming to land with force. But nothing could penetrate the Aegis Reborn's shields. Their beams evaporated harmlessly against the human ship's energy fields. Inside the command room, the crew worked as one, their movements precise and instinctual. The weapons officers unleashed wave after wave of firepower, while the navigation officers kept the ship moving in fluid arcs, avoiding incoming alien fire. The human forces were in perfect harmony, even as the aliens scrambled to react to the overwhelming assault. As the fighters closed in, another command came through. The captain's earpiece opened fire with the secondary cannons. The secondary weapon systems, smaller but no less powerful, unleashed a new wave of destruction. These rapid-fire cannons peppered the alien fighters with concentrated beams of plasma melting through their hulls. With alarming speed, the alien ships that tried to break through were torn apart in seconds. The captain's voice cut through the chaos. Maintain pressure, keep them on the back foot. And so they did. The Aegis Reborn was a relentless force, pushing forward, pushing harder as the alien fleet struggled to find any foothold in the battle. Their most powerful ships were still far away, too cautious to engage directly with the human warship, their commanders too uncertain of the outcome. But now there was no turning back. Now, the battle was not just a fight for Earth's survival. It was a declaration of humanity's place in the galaxy, a statement that would echo across the stars, and the aliens would know it. No longer would they be the hunters. They would find themselves facing a species that would not be so easily dominated. For the first time in this war, the aliens had tasted something they had never experienced before: fear. The alien fleet had been rattled, their initial shock turning into disbelief as their most advanced ships fell one by one to the relentless onslaught of the Aegis Reborn. For the first time, the invaders were forced to reconsider their approach. The commander of the fleet, an alien of immense stature and intellect, stood rigidly before a glowing holographic map in his flagship, his mind racing. He had studied humanity's history, their wars, their petty conflicts, but never had he imagined they would be capable of such coordinated resistance. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a fight for dominance, and the humans were proving themselves dangerous. The alien commander gritted his teeth. "Regroup now," he ordered, his voice low and dangerous. "Prepare the second wave. Send in the heavy assault ships. We will crush this anomaly." Across the expanse of space, the remaining alien vessels began to shift into a more aggressive formation. A new order was given: no more holding back. The time for cautious approaches was over. The aliens had the numbers, the firepower, and the experience to overwhelm any foe. They had simply underestimated the humans' will to fight. The Aegis Reborn had not stopped its barrage. It tore through the alien formations with brutal precision, every blast a declaration that the humans would not kneel. But even the mighty Aegis Reborn was starting to feel the strain. The alien reinforcements had arrived. Massive ships, their size dwarfing the smaller vessels, entered the fray, launching waves of energy bolts that could shatter continents. They surrounded the Aegis Reborn, their numbers now overwhelming. The ship rocked with each impact, its shields flickering but holding strong. The captain stood firm, his hands gripping the controls with cold determination. "Brace for impact," the captain ordered. His voice was calm, almost serene, but the tension in the room was palpable. Inside the ship, every crew member held their breath as the weapons officers fired back with calculated fury. The secondary cannons were engaged again, a rapid-fire stream of plasma beams cutting through the alien ships. One by one, the larger assault ships took damage. Yet there were too many now, too many to fight off with pure force alone. In the command room, the captain's mind raced. He could feel the balance shifting. He knew that if this kept up, the Aegis Reborn would eventually succumb to the sheer weight of the assault. The human ship had been built for resilience, but the alien ships were designed for one purpose: destruction. The captain glanced at his tactical officer. "Deploy the decoy drones. Buy us some time." The officer nodded, activating the ship's backup systems. Dozens of small drones, designed to mimic the Aegis Reborn's signature, launched from hidden compartments and dispersed across the battlefield. They scattered into space, emitting false energy signatures designed to confuse and mislead the alien fleet. For a brief moment, the aliens hesitated, their sensors unable to differentiate between the drones and the real ship. It was enough. The captain ordered a sharp turn, and the Aegis Reborn surged forward, breaking through the alien ranks with newfound speed. The drones had bought them the seconds they needed, and now the humans capitalized on it. The larger assault ships hesitated for just a moment too long, and the Aegis Reborn took advantage. The ship's main cannon fired once more, this time ripping through an alien flagship. The explosion was magnificent, a flash of light so bright it almost felt like the sun itself had exploded. The alien flagship tore apart in an instant, its shattered remains drifting into the void. The surviving alien ships, their commanders witnessing the destruction of their most valuable asset, began to retreat. The tide of the battle was turning, just not in the way they had expected. The Aegis Reborn had struck the first real blow, and the aliens, for the first time, began to realize the true cost of underestimating humanity. The Aegis Reborn surged forward, its engines roaring with unmatched power, its weapons locked and loaded. The alien fleet, once poised to dominate Earth, now found itself on the defensive. The retreat that had begun in small increments was becoming a full-scale flight. They had misjudged humanity's capacity for resistance, and now their very survival was in question. Yet despite the retreat, the alien commander was not ready to accept defeat. He had seen the devastation wrought by the Aegis Reborn, but he knew that warships of that size, no matter how formidable, could be destroyed. Every commander had a weakness, and he intended to find it. "We will not retreat," the alien commander growled. "We will fight to the last ship. Bring in the reinforcements. This will end now." His order sent waves of new ships into battle. Vast, behemoth vessels that blotted out the stars and dwarfed the remaining ships of the alien fleet. They were his final trump card, ships designed to withstand the harshest environments in space. With these reinforcements, he was confident he could turn the tide back in his favor. However, what the aliens failed to realize was that the Aegis Reborn had not yet revealed its true power. Inside the human warship, the captain turned his attention to a section of the control panel that had remained dormant until now. It was a calculated risk, a weapon of such destructive potential that it could obliterate everything within a vast radius. The Singularity Cannon, still untested in the field, was humanity's ultimate weapon. It had been built to decimate entire fleets, to create a rift in space-time itself that would tear apart anything unlucky enough to be caught in its wake. The decision to use it was not one taken lightly, but the captain knew that if they didn't act decisively, the alien reinforcements would overwhelm them. "Prepare the Singularity Cannon," the captain ordered. His voice was steady, unwavering. Across the ship, the crew moved with purpose. The technicians worked quickly, ensuring the weapon was powered up and calibrated. The cannon's massive energy core hummed to life, a pulse of raw power that seemed to distort the air around it. The captain stood before the tactical map, his eyes narrowing as he calculated the distance, the trajectory, the timing. Every move had to be perfect. Lock onto the largest vessel. Fire on my command. The Aegis Reborn's main guns powered down as the Singularity Cannon took center stage. The alien reinforcements were closing in, their ships growing larger in the view screens, but now they were within range of a weapon that could change the course of the battle in a single shot. The captain's hand hovered over the firing controls. There was no hesitation. He pressed the button. In an instant, the Aegis Reborn unleashed a beam of pure gravitational force. It was so intense that it seemed to bend space itself as it traveled toward the massive alien flagship. The beam struck with the force of a collapsing star, and as the alien ship tried to respond, its shields buckled under the immense pressure. A wave of energy spread outward, rippling through the fabric of space. The alien flagship seemed to vanish into the void, its form pulled into the Singularity's center before being torn apart in an instant. The shockwave of the explosion sent tremors through the battlefield. The alien ships surrounding the flagship were thrown into disarray, their remaining shields flickering helplessly against the residual energy of the blast. The captain exhaled slowly, his expression grim. It had worked. The weapon had been a success, but at a cost. The energy required to fire the singularity cannon had drained much of the ship's reserves, leaving them vulnerable for the time being. "Status report," the captain called out. "We've breached their defenses, sir," the tactical officer replied. "The flagship is destroyed, and the remaining vessels are retreating. But their escape pods have deployed. There are still survivors." The battle wasn't over, but it was clear now that the Aegis Reborn had turned the tide. The alien fleet, once so sure of their victory, was now in retreat, and humanity had just demonstrated that it was capable of far more than the invaders could ever have imagined. The captain looked at the tactical map once more, the aliens scattering in every direction. It was time to finish this. The destruction of the alien flagship was a blow to their fleet that could not be underestimated. The shockwave of the singularity cannon still echoed through the vastness of space, leaving a silence in its wake. But that silence was short-lived. The remaining alien ships, though shaken, had not given up. The commander of the alien fleet, though rattled, had one final option left, a last desperate gambit. In the heart of the alien flagship's command center, the surviving commander surveyed the wreckage of his forces. His fleet was in chaos, scattered and disoriented, but they were still formidable. They had one more card to play, a weapon that could turn the tide in their favor. The captain of the Aegis Reborn had played his hand, but he had no idea what was coming next. "Initiate the quantum drive," the alien commander ordered coldly. "We take the fight directly to Earth." The quantum drive was a device capable of folding space, allowing the alien fleet to jump from one point in space to another almost instantaneously. But it had a cost, a risk. A miscalculation in the drive's activation could lead to catastrophic results, not just for the fleet, but for the entire solar system. It was an all-or-nothing move. The commander, knowing this, had no choice but to gamble everything on it. In the heart of the Aegis Reborn, the crew watched as the remaining alien ships began to shift, their movements erratic, their sensors seeming to flare with intense energy. They could feel something was wrong. "Captain, they're powering up," the tactical officer said, eyes wide. "They're preparing for a quantum jump." The captain's eyes narrowed. "They're going to try and collapse space. They'll be on top of us before we can react." He didn't need to say more. The crew understood the gravity of the situation. If the alien ships used the quantum drive to get close enough to Earth, they would be able to launch a devastating counterattack. And if they were too close, there would be no time to stop them. "Prepare the backup systems," the captain barked. "We need to disable their quantum drive before they can jump." But it was already too late. The alien ships had initiated the quantum drive. The distortion in space began to ripple, and the human crew watched in stunned silence as the very fabric of the universe seemed to bend. The alien ships, no longer bound by traditional space, began to blink in and out of existence, reappearing just within the range of Earth's atmosphere. The alien fleet had arrived in the blink of an eye, almost as if they had never left. "Full power to the engines," the captain ordered, his voice resolute. "We cannot allow them to get any closer." But the Aegis Reborn was already engaged in a race against time. The alien fleet had arrived with brutal precision. The smaller ships, now liberated from the constraints of their previous formation, spread out rapidly, and their firepower began raining down upon Earth's atmosphere. The tactical officer called out, "They're firing. They're targeting Earth directly. They're bypassing us." The human warship's shields flared with incoming fire as the alien weapons rained down upon the Earth below. Cities were struck by beams of intense energy, and the ground trembled beneath the impacts. But then, as the Aegis Reborn moved to intercept, a strange phenomenon unfolded. The very atmosphere around the alien ships began to warp. The quantum jump, designed to deliver their ships to Earth, had come with unforeseen consequences. The alien fleet had miscalculated. The human crew watched in awe as one by one, the alien ships began to glitch in and out of space, destabilizing under the stress of their quantum drive. It wasn't an easy process, nor was it without risk, but the sheer energy of the quantum jump had caused a cascading collapse. It was not just a malfunction, it was a disaster. In an instant, the alien fleet's formation shattered. Several ships, those closest to Earth, were pulled into an unstable pocket of space-time. The results were catastrophic. Explosions tore through the alien fleet as ships blinked in and out of existence, their forms distorting and breaking apart in an eerie display of cosmic chaos. "Now," the captain shouted, "take the shot." With precision and purpose, the crew of the Aegis Reborn fired its main cannon once more. This time, the blast struck true. The concentrated energy hit the largest remaining alien ship, already weakened from the quantum drive's instability. It exploded in a fiery blaze, sending debris scattering in all directions. The remaining alien ships, now reduced to mere fragments, scattered in every direction, their once pristine formation nothing more than chaos. The retreat was no longer a choice, it was a necessity. The Aegis Reborn had delivered the final blow, but it had come at a cost. Earth had been damaged, yes, but the planet was not lost. The alien invasion was broken, their advanced technology no match for humanity's adaptability, ingenuity, and resilience. The captain stood silently, watching as the last remnants of the alien fleet vanished into the void. Their defeat as total as it was unexpected. The battle had ended, but the silence that followed was anything but peaceful. The remnants of the alien fleet drifted in the vast emptiness of space, broken and scattered, their once immense power reduced to little more than floating debris. On Earth, the damage was undeniable. Several major cities had been struck by the alien weapons, and the skies were filled with the thick smoke of destruction. But humanity had not been completely shattered. The Aegis Reborn had won the battle, and the world watched as the human ship stood victorious in the heavens, its hull scared but still intact. On the bridge of the Aegis Reborn, the crew was exhausted, but the relief was palpable. The tactical officer scanned the space around them, his eyes scanning for any remaining signs of the alien fleet. "Captain," he said, his voice tight with the aftershock of battle, "the alien ships, they're gone. We've won." The captain nodded slowly, but there was no joy in his expression. He knew the cost of victory. Earth had been wounded, and though the aliens had been repelled, the scars of their invasion would not disappear easily. The war was over, but the true battle, the rebuilding, had just begun. "Status report on the damage to Earth," the captain asked, his voice steady, but with an undercurrent of concern. The officer looked at the data flooding in from Earth's satellite network, his face growing darker with each passing moment. "The damage is extensive, Captain. Multiple cities have been hit: New York, Tokyo, Paris, and several others. Casualty estimates are still coming in, but we're talking in the millions." The weight of those words hung heavily in the air. The captain stood silently for a long moment, thinking about the families, the lives lost, and the rebuilding that would take decades, if not longer. "We've made contact with the United Nations," the communications officer spoke up, breaking the heavy silence. "They're coordinating global recovery efforts. They want you to address the world. They need to hear from you." The captain sighed deeply. This was the part he had dreaded. He had led his crew to victory, but now he was tasked with giving humanity a glimmer of hope in the aftermath of devastation. "Patch me through," he said. Within moments, the captain's image was broadcast across every screen on Earth. Every person, from the highest leaders to the most average citizen, was watching. His image filled screens everywhere, his face showing the fatigue of battle, but also the resolve of a leader who had seen humanity through its darkest hour. "People of Earth," he began, his voice strong and clear, "today, We stand united in the face of an unimaginable threat. The aliens who came to conquer us have been driven from our skies, but their destruction will echo across our world. We have lost much, but we are not defeated." He paused, allowing the weight of the words to settle. "We have shown the invaders something they did not expect," he continued, his tone growing firmer. "We are a species that does not yield. We are not bound by fear or defeat. We fight not for ourselves, but for our future. And though our cities have fallen and our people have suffered, we will rebuild. We will rise stronger than before." The camera zoomed in, capturing the fire in his eyes. "This is our planet, our home. And no one, not even the greatest forces of the galaxy, can take that from us." The screen flickered, and for a moment, the captain saw the faces of men and women, old and young, filled with a renewed sense of hope. It was a quiet but unmistakable spark, a promise of a brighter future built from the ashes of war. Back on the ship, the captain let out a long breath. He had delivered the speech, but his mind was already moving to the next phase, the recovery of Earth, the rebuilding of human society, the steps needed to ensure this victory wasn't the end, but the beginning of something greater. "We've won today, but this war isn't over," the captain muttered to himself, glancing at the stars outside the viewport. "We'll be ready for whatever comes next." As the ship began its journey back to Earth's orbit, the crew moved with purpose. But beyond that, humanity as a whole had been irrevocably changed. They had faced the unthinkable and survived. And though the alien threat had been vanquished, the future, unknown and uncertain, now lay ahead. There would be no going back to the world they had known before. It was a new era, one where humanity's place in the galaxy had been solidified, and their strength, though untested before, had been proven beyond measure. The war was over, but the journey had only just begun. The days following the alien invasion were a blur of activity. The Aegis Reborn had returned to Earth's orbit, its mission complete, and the crew had disembarked to an overwhelming reception. Earth was a planet bruised by destruction, but it was also a world brimming with an unshakable sense of unity. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged not just alive, but empowered. The captain stood at the edge of a temporary command center, overlooking the bustling reconstruction efforts. Earth's governments, now working in unison, had set up massive operations to repair the damage caused by the invasion. International leaders, once divided by borders, now sat together in unity, planning the rebirth of their world. The first wave of humanitarian missions was underway. Supply drops to the cities still struggling, medical teams rushing to provide aid to those in need. The efforts were tireless, and though it was clear the road ahead would be long, there was an energy, a fire, that had never been there before. The captain's communicator buzzed, snapping him from his thoughts. A message from the United Nations flashed across his screen. He opened it immediately. "Captain, the world's leaders wish to honor you and your crew for your bravery." The message began. "A ceremony is being held in your honor at the United Nations headquarters. Please attend." The captain's fingers hovered over the device. Honor was a strange thing. They hadn't fought for medals or recognition. They had fought because it was necessary, because humanity's future had depended on it. Still, there was something about the request that resonated with him. It wasn't for them. It was for the people who had stood together in this crisis, for the millions who had fought, not with weapons, but with their resolve. "I'll be there," he responded quietly, before making his way to the meeting place. The world had been watching him since the battle ended. His speech had ignited something in the hearts of people everywhere. But this ceremony, this moment, was something more than recognition. It was a symbol that humanity was no longer a fledgling species, living on the fringes of the galactic unknown. They had been tested, and they had passed. When the captain entered the United Nations building, he was met with a room full of representatives from every corner of Earth, faces both familiar and foreign, all filled with gratitude and admiration. He walked to the front of the room, his steps deliberate, his expression one of quiet confidence. The Secretary General of the United Nations stepped forward, holding an ornate plaque. On behalf of all of humanity, she began, her voice carrying across the room, "We honor you,